Okay, dear Venerable Brothers, dear Venerable Sisters and Dhamma friends. So I welcome all of you to Nissarana English Medium Retreat. So this is the 315th retreat that we are conducting here. And so now we are going to start the first question and answer session. So Rupika is prepared with the questions. We have received written questions.
Yes,
okay.
Venerable Sir, we have received 5 written questions and 1 online question.
Okay, so then we will start the session with the written questions. Right.
Thero Saranai Bante, walking meditation. I commenced walking in the Valley Maluwa. The sand felt cool to the touch and slightly wet. I observed the weight shifting from one foot to the other. First the heel touched the ground, then the rest of the sole. Not all the toes touched the ground. Those that did, the contact was very fleeting. When turning at the end of the path, I observed how the weight of the body fell more heavily on the side of the sole and a twisting motion of the foot. The twisting sensation traveled up to the kneecap. The contact at the end of the path with the rough concrete divider created sensations that were more gross, and even though the contact ceased and I was walking on sand again, the sensation of the concrete overpowered the subtle sensation of the sand for a few more seconds. Occasionally thoughts overpowered the mind, making me misobserve the sensations of the feet. Sitting meditation, Anapanasati. After walking, I sat down outdoors to meditate. I observed the breath, its depth and length. After some time, some bright lights flashed behind my eyes, but they were not as bright as I have on other days. That is within brackets. I ignored them and continued focusing on the breath. At this time, there was a deep, peaceful stillness. Yet I did doze off about 2 to 3 times. Indoor sitting meditation in the hall was not as pleasant an experience as outside, as I started to feel deep drowsiness indoors. This is usually the case with indoor meditation, unless it is a very well ventilated area like the upstairs Lanupadura area. Should I give preference to sitting outside to meditate instead of in the hall Bante? Theruvan Saranai.
Yeah, that's all right. Basically, certain yogis actually have that sort of feeling. So they need a kind of good ventilation, and you feel like drowsy when you are doing in a little closed environment. So I also sometimes encourage them to do it outside. Only thing is that you need to inform the organizer so that she is aware of it, that you are meditating but you are not leaving the retreat. So basically, once you are informed, then you can do that. So that is no problem. Actually, you can continue as it is. And on the other hand, now the walking meditation is quite descriptive and you have done that well. May I know who has written the report? Okay, yeah. So you have done that well. Basically, we are trying as much as possible at this level to recognize more details. So as you know, once the mindfulness is fairly established, it's a matter of recognizing more details. And more you are able to recognize, that indicates your clear comprehension is fairly improved. And with that, now, are you able to recognize certain details? Can you come a little forward? Yeah, so that we can have a little discussion. So what I want to know is that what are the details? Can you explain a little what are the details that you are able to recognize?
In walking meditations?
Yes.
Well, I observed, like I said, the coolness, the difference in the temperature on the ground.
Right.
I also noticed that the sun also fell on the ground, the dryness as well.
Right.
The sand, I think I compare this with the Kalalgoda Center Valley Maluwa.
Yeah.
There is more roughness there.
Right.
And I noticed that this was more very, the ones here, the sand is very subtle. So I tend to notice, because when I knocked on the concrete at the end, because there are concrete dividers, it was very, very gross, the sensation. And with that, the subtleness of the sand was more pronounced in that sense, because the two were quite different.
Right.
But nonetheless, the concrete sensation overpowered the subtle sensation. So even though I was stepping on the sand, what I felt was actually the initial previous contact. It seemed to continue on for some time. Yeah.
Good. So basically now, as you are moving forward, you don't need to worry about the names, labels, and all that conventional stuff. As much as possible, allow the mind to simplify yourself. So that mind discards all that unnecessary additional, labels and names that we have typically given. So what we are more concerned about that subtle sensations and what's happening to them, and how you are being feeling them, and so that information is more critical, more important than the other names and the labels that we attribute to them. So like that, in a way, we can simplify our meditation so the mind becomes more relaxed, more cool, and you are recognizing all the details as much as possible.
I also noticed that it was very, the three types of sensations, like the pleasant, the more rough, and it was very almost neutral to more large extent.
Definitely.
The Valley Malua was very,
right.
There was no large variation in the sensation of pleasant or unpleasant.
Correct.
Yeah.
Fine. So even if your mind eager to look at it in a kind of a feeling tone, that's also fine. Typically, all these are simply equanimous. It's a matter of different types of feelings are there. So even though if mind prefers to do that, even that's all right. So because we don't need to strictly keep our mind's attention only at the characteristics level. That is typically what we do. Typically we are more concerned about the element characteristics at that level, and naturally if your mind tends to shift to the other side, to the feeling side, that's also all right, no problem, because they are very close together. Either we are giving prominence to the form aggregate, or either we are giving prominence to the feeling aggregate. It's our own perception. So basically, if mind prefers to look at them from the elements point of view, allow that to do that. If it is like to do from the feeling point of view, that's also fine, because we are anyway working on the same ground. Yeah. Fine, just continue that as much as possible. Look at all these sensations and how they are, behaving. So then slowly, we are trying to understand their nature. Yeah, okay, fine, good.
Second question. It was very difficult to me to concentrate my mind when I was doing walking meditation. Then I did Metta Bhavana while I was on walking meditation. Venerable Swamin Wahanse, I did walking meditation after lunch according to Swamin Wahanse's instructions. I think I'll be successful in the future. I did look at my body movements to try to concentrate. I hope I can improve myself. Buddha Saranai.
Yeah, so at the beginning, walking meditation is somewhat difficult because we have to conduct it while our eyes are open. And again, various other distractions are also available. It is not indoors that we are mostly doing it, mostly the outside. So likewise, it's a little challenging at the beginning. But don't get discouraged. You can do it more successfully as you are more familiar with it. So therefore, don't worry. So initial problems are there, naturally. But slowly, once you understand the method, once you are familiar with the method, so it will be a very interesting exercise in a way. And it will be more interesting than even sitting. So you may find out, if you find that type of an attitude that I prefer walking than sitting, so that indicates certain kind of a long path, long journey that you can walk through than even the sitting. So it's giving more balanced attitude within you if you prefer more walking. So therefore, don't worry about these initial problems. You can just continue.
Third question, walking meditation. Mindfully watched body sensations while walking very slowly, lifting. The heel raises first and the touch with the ground is released from inner body side to the outer. When only the toes are still touching the ground, it is released. Then from smallest toe to the biggest, being the last to raise off ground. The heel was away from the body when all toes were touching, but then came parallel to the body when only the last big toe was touching. The heel raises first and the big toe is released last. The weight of the body shifts from one to the other. At the point where the weight is entirely on one foot, within brackets, while only the toe of the other is, the leg starts to waver, touching, due to the body weight. Moving. The knee pushed forward first, then the knee raised the foot above ground, then the bottom part of the knee swung forward like a pendulum. When it moved past the line of the body, the foot was parallel to the floor. Placing. The heel touched first, then the outer line of the foot touched, then the toes touched, the last being the biggest toe. The weight gets released from the back foot and gets transferred to the one placed. Other observations. The roughness of the mat has a bigger pain effect on the top of the toe, being the softest although unevenness of the mat. I was able to focus continuously of about 5 to 7 steps in one go. Other distractions to my primary object. Mind wandering, doubt if I am doing this right, ego, I am getting this. Noticing that my analytical observation of the leg movement is not repeated precisely in some steps. Happiness that I focused over 5 steps in one go. Awareness of unmindfulness. Boredom. Eating, primary object, mindfulness on body sensations. Saliva secreting while standing in line even before seeing food. Stretching my hand a bit too fast to get the spoon. Serving and wanting one more spoon and another. The color observations of the food served. Awareness of naming them as chili was no chili. Serving weight 2 more rice and feeling embarrassed for having to return some. Texture, taste of individual vegetable cannot even though it was all mixed in the mouth.
Pretty long one.
Chilly sensation tingling in the tongue and cheeks. Heat developing in the sole of the foot. Other. Mind wandering and not being mindful toward the end. Wanting to come out of mindfulness and speed up plate return process.
Okay. I think you have touched the all few areas that we typically expect you to write in the report. First in the walking, then sitting, and then the daily activities. That's all right. Anyway, you can shorten your report next time. And it's okay because when we start, so we are giving more kind of an emphasis on all these areas. As much as possible, we are trying to be mindful. And here, very much like we are deliberately trying to incorporate mindfulness. So that's the art at the beginning. But slowly, once you recognize that, you won't need to have that kind of a, say, deliberate inclusion of mindfulness. Mindfulness is there. So naturally, mindfulness will retain. Then it will be a kind of a natural flow. So then, so it's a matter of recognizing that. It's there, but you are more aware of that. So, but at the beginning, we are purposefully doing it, forcefully, almost like we are doing it, because otherwise mind get distracted. So that is how we have to start the process. Doesn't matter, no problem. I think things are all right. And on the other hand, as I said to the other yogi previously, that you don't need to worry too much about that, say, giving names and precisely knowing the names given and the labels and the typical conventional stuff, because that is just to communicate. But later we are ignoring that, but giving more importance to the, say, sensations or whatever the bodily feelings or element characteristics. So those are the ones actually we are giving more importance. So, but at the beginning, we are so concerned about where I am, how I am doing, am I doing good? So likewise, you have observed even that. So how you are perceiving that whole process. So how the ego is working. And some amount of that aspect is also there. That's pretty good. So I think you are doing good. So there is no huge mistakes here. So you have understood the process. It's a matter of continuing that.
Venerable Bhante, walking meditation. When I start the walking meditation, body is light-weighted and mind is little bit calm. But after a little while, time to thought thought coming to mind when I was walking. After around 15 minutes, I can observe foot touching movement to lifting movement continuously. And I can feel sensation like roughness of sand, its temperature, etc. After 20 minutes, I feel body can walk its own. When it happens, I sense the gap between left and right foot movement. At that moment, my touching consciousness go to vision, body, feeling or sand. In the end, I feel body as walking object. I am just observing it.
Yeah, good. So that is where we are very much like arriving. So at the beginning, as I just mentioned, so we are doing kind of a purposeful, deliberate kind of establishment of mindfulness. So it is little forceful. But later, slowly you are understanding the process, you allow it to happen, and now the body is walking naturally, and you little come out of the process and you are simply watching. So that you become a kind of a silent observer, almost like a passive observer, and say the process is happening. So the body is simply walking. So you have recognized that beautiful balance. So that is necessary, because otherwise it will be a more little tiresome process. Because if you are continuing more deliberate kind of establishment of mindfulness, so it will be little tiresome. But later you understand, okay, I don't need to put too much effort. So it's a matter of slowly allowing the process to happen, to evolve. So now I can maintain that beautiful balance, and I am slowly recognizing each and every step, how these processes are happening, and you are quite mindful, and that mindfulness is also not that deliberate. It's a kind of a natural type of mindfulness. So you are doing good. So if we can do that, so that is where what we sometimes call as the parato, where things are not belongs to us, very much like an outside process, someone else's process, and it is evolving, it is happening, and I am like, it's not I, actually it's a kind of an observing process is available apart from the typical physical process. Now the physical process is naturally happening, and the observing process is simply observing. So we have these two combinations, the physical form part and the mental observing part. So sometimes in the later there are names given like Nama Rupa Paricheda, kind of distinguishing the name and form, something like that. So we don't need to sort of add too much theory there. Anyway, so once you have this understanding, but you can't simply wait, or rather say rest. You need to recognize what is happening now. While body walking, how are you feeling? How are you sensing it? So what are the characteristics that you are feeling? Because that is where now you are able to do a kind of a very impartial kind of observation. Previously it is too much, like too much effort, too much deliberate. So that kind of hindrances are there. But now you are in a more conducive environment, conducive position to recognize this whole process in a much more convenient manner. Now only you get the very precise kind of observation. Now only the proper balance has happened. Now only we can say we are in the proper vipassana process to recognize all these subtle characteristics, and we are not adding anything to that, we are not interrupting that process, rather we are simply observing. We become a silent observer, outside observer, and we simply observe what's really going on. So if you can reach this, that is really beautiful. And you can check how the mind is behaving. So your mind has to be fairly silent at this level, and there can't be any distractions. And again, you can't feel much kind of a tiredness, because it's a more kind of a smooth flow currently happening. And you may not miss any information, but as much as possible you are able to recognize all that information. And that gathering also is not effortful, so it's very much like a very smooth observation has to happen. So you can check whether everything is perfect, everything is happening. Now you are maintaining kind of an equanimous observation and allowing that process to continue, and as much as possible you are observing what's really going on, something like that. So then it is a little bit of curiosity you can add to the process, And as a result of that, you are doing a very interesting vipassana process at this level. So I think you understood what I am mentioning here. If you have any question, please raise your hand. I think fine, no? Is that yours? Yeah, come here. Yeah, Thero.
So I have a problem in sitting meditation.
Right.
So normally I am starting with, when I'm beginning, I have a light-weighted body and calmful mind. First, there are a small body pain. After a little while, thoughts coming.
Thoughts coming.
Yeah, I can observe that it start and end. I can observe that one.
Right.
After a while, there's a light coming end of that, and I can sense the body also.
Sorry?
I can sense the body.
You can't sense or you
can. There's a sense of body.
Fine.
So when they are let's say 20 minutes after that, again body pain coming. Is it correct?
No, the thing is, I mean, we are maintaining kind of some amount of concentration, which hasn't gone to very deep level. So if we are going to more deeper concentration, then you may not feel the body at all. So, but at this level, you are recognizing all these body sensations. So that means if there is a pain available, that is also you may start feeling. So, but the thing is, rather than immediately starting observation, probably you can do a little bit of anapanasati or rising and falling, so that your mind becomes somewhat concentrated, but not too deep, too much. So while these sensations are available, you can start the process. That would be more convenient for your practice. Because if the sensations are very subtle and almost unnoticeable, then it is difficult to start the process. Because you need some tangible, tangible like sensations, so that you can easily recognize them, you can easily sense them, so you can observe them easily. But when they become more and more subtler, then a little difficult. So, but the disadvantage is that even certain pains are there, so they become more, say, intense. But they may change. Is it possible for you to even look at a certain painful feeling with a little equanimous mind, or are you get a little distracted with that?
It's okay, I can do that, but I don't know. In the beginning, I can't sense anything. That's the rule.
At the beginning, you can't sense.
After a while, it's go to the thoughts. It mean that.
So how about then changing the process? Because sometimes, say, if we are interrupting the process, the natural flow, it can become little, confused. But if you feel at the beginning you are more comfortable, there is no much pain, and then at that moment, probably rather than looking the body, just you can try. Probably you can look at the mind, how the mind is behaving right now. Are there many thoughts? Are there less thoughts? How the thoughts are behaving? Something like that. You can, as an alternative, you can do that and see. So if things are happening smoothly, then you don't need to switch back to the body. Because at this level, if the mind is more in a comfortable situation and the body also feels lighter, then you don't need to immediately look at typically we have to look at the body. No argument. There is no problem in that. But as you said, the process has to continue in a certain manner so that there is no huge disturbances. But again, sometimes hitches can happen. Different things can happen. We can't completely predict the whole process. This is the way it's going to happen. But naturally, there are no big issues. Maybe after 40 minutes or something like that, then you may have to stop the process. That's the ending of the process. But other than that, if you feel that after 5 minutes, 10 minutes after start observation, there are things happening more abruptly, then that means there could be a different approach that we can try. You can try looking at the mind. If you feel that the looking at the mind is more comfortable, that you are not being driven by the thoughts, but you can simply look at each and every thought carefully and you are able to understand their behavior, then that's another way of doing it, no problem. Have you ever tried that, looking at the mind?
Can not intentionally, that now it's automatically coming the thoughts after a little while, automatically coming thoughts.
Right. Are you looking at them merely as thoughts?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Then you can do that because that is more comfortable and at this level may be more convenient.
But after that, body feeling.
Fine. That's okay because it is alive. So that is available. If you look at the body, various feelings are available. But now we are not much interested about it. Currently, we are more concerned about how thoughts are happening, and if possible, to recognize certain gaps between thoughts. Are you getting such kind of gaps?
Yeah, that as I described in the walking meditation, the same thing happening in the body feeling also. That there are in the beginning, I can feel the whole body as a body feeling. After that, there are space in the between the body feeling. There are kind of spaces.
Right.
The body feeling.
No, you are talking the body feelings.
Yeah, body. And little while it's reducing that body feeling also.
Right. So same thing can happen in the mind as well. So if you are looking at the mind, so several thoughts can happen. Allow them to come. Basically, you are not suppressing them. Allow them to come, and you are mindfully watching them one after the other. Now maybe the possibility is there to look at one after the other because they have slowed down.
Yeah. Thoughts also that when the thoughts ending, after thoughts ending, that light appearing. After that body feeling coming.
After that body feeling comes. Yeah. Because thing is, when thoughts end, that means mind has somewhat concentrated. So that has taken you to the some other side, some amount of concentration part. So the light appears. But at this moment, don't give prominence to that. So if you look at the light and give more prominence to that, then we are giving more prominence to the concentration. Rather than that, you can put your attention back to the body, kind of an overall of the overall body, so that what are the touching sensations, what are the feelings available, so that we are not much, giving more prominence to the deeper concentrations. Rather, we maintain certain amount of concentration which is enough for the practice, enough for the continuation of the vipassana process. Because if we go deeper concentrations, then we get absorbed and we are going into a different direction. Yeah. Thero.
Venerable Swamin Wahanse, walking meditation. I started walking in the walking path. Thoughts appeared. After some time, I felt the tiredness when foot touches the walking path. I felt the pain of lower part of the foot. Then those disappeared, and felt the pain upper part of the foot. Time to time, thoughts came. When I was walking, I realized that speed was changed. When I come to the end of the walking path, my eyes were closed automatically for a few seconds. I noticed front part of the foot touches the floor first, then back part. Then one foot bear the body weight. When I lift the foot, I notice back part of the foot lifts up first, then front part. Sitting meditation. I sat down and closed the eyes. I felt that body touches the ground. I heard sounds. I felt the breath, not sure whether in-breath or out-breath. It is very soft. I felt various body sensations. Some thoughts appeared as a picture. I identified them as thoughts. I felt sleepy. My body shook and heard the sounds around me. I am not sure that I was slept for a few seconds or not. Same thing happened again and again. Theruvan Saranai.
Yeah, this can be natural because thing is, this is the first day. So if you are coming from a busy schedule, probably feeling sleepy and even getting to sort of sleepiness is quite natural. But anyway, involve more into walking meditation so that you are developing mindfulness as much as possible, sharpening mindfulness as much as possible. And then you can overcome drowsiness, laziness, sleepiness, all these things. And everything else quite all right. So typical first day problems are there that you can overcome in a short. Yeah. So I think the yogi who written that have no more questions. It's yours? Really? So are you, if you, probably you can come. Yeah, Thero and Sanai. So as far as I can remember, that you were able to maintain simply doing the looking at the mind, right?
Yes, Swaminansa. But last few days I missed the meditation. So today experience was like that.
But I mean, nothing to worry. You can slowly lift yourself and say, I have lost the confidence that you can't go back or something like that.
No. When I do sitting, after some time I was able to see the thoughts after some time. But in the walking, not like previous days, I couldn't see the thoughts. So I just focused to the...
No problem. You can start as a beginner in the walking. Say, pay more attention to the sensations, the bodily sensations, physical sensations, and establish mindfulness slowly. And naturally allow the mind to look at the mind. So that would be more convenient. Fine. Yeah, that's
Swaminansa, it's a Sinhala question.
කවන්නයි ඉතින් නේද?
තෙරුවන් සරණයි ගරු ස්වාමින් වහන්සේ, මම වසරක් පමණ සිට සක්මන් භාවනාව පර්යංකයේදී හුස්මට සතිමත් වීම සහ එදිනෙදා කටයුතු වල සතිමත් බව පුහුණු කරමි. දැනට මාස කිහිපයක සිට මාහට එදිනෙදා කටයුතු අතර සෑම තැනකම පවතින හිස් අවකාශවල පැහැදිලි තිත් නලියන ස්වභාවයක්ද බඩු බාණ්ඩ දිය වී නැති වී යන බවක් පෙනේ. හුස්මට සතිමත්ව සිටින විට අඳුරු පසුබිමක් තුළ දිලිසෙන තිත් ඇතැම් විට කුඩා ගුලියාකාරයට යමක් පෙනේ. එදිනෙදා කටයුතු වලදී මත් වී සිටින බවක් මෙන් දැනීමත් ඇත. ඇති විට එදිනෙදා කටයුතු වලදීත් පර්යංකයේදීත් සතිමත්ව මට මාව අමතක වීමක් සිදුවේ. දරුවන් උකුලේ වාඩි වෙලා සිටියත් ඔවුන් කවුද යන්නත් මා සිටින්නේ කොහෙද යන දේවල්ද තත්පර කීපයකට අමතක වේ. කුඩා දරුවන් සමග කටයුතු කරන බැවින් දහම පිළිබඳව සොයා බැලීමට අඩු විවේක සහිත බවත් අඩු දහම් දැනුමක් ඇති මා කෙරෙහි අනුකම්පාවෙන් ඉදිරි භාවනා කටයුතු සඳහා උපදෙස් ලබා දෙනු මැනවි. තෙරුවන් සරණයි.
හැබැයි මේක නම් පොඩ්ඩක් කතා කරන්න වටිනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ ටිකක් දිගට මේ භාවනා කරපු කෙනෙක්ද කියලා මට පොඩ්ඩක් දැනගන්න අවශ්‍යයි මේ ලියලා තියෙන කෙනා. මොකද එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි වෙන වැරදි උපකල්පන මත උපදෙස් දෙන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා. මොකද මේ තොරතුරු ටික අනුව එක්කෝ සෑහෙන දුරට විපස්සනාවක් වඩලා ආපු තත්වයක් වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. එහෙමනම් ඉතින් ඕක හරහා අපිට යන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් වෙන හේතු ටිකක් වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. ඒ නිසා මට ඍජුවම පිළිතුරක් දෙන්න බෑ මේ තව ටිකක් සාකච්ඡා කරන්න නැතුව. ඉතින් පුළුවන් නම් Zoom එකේ ඉන්නවද ෂාන්? ඒගොල්ලෝ කවුරුත් නැන්නේ. ඔව්. එතකොට මේ නමක් දීලත් නැහැනේ නේද? කල්පනී.
කල්පනී වනිගසේකර.
වජිරසේන. වනිගසේකර. ඔව්. පුළුවන් නම් මේ සම්බන්ධ වෙන්න හෙට වුණත් කමක් නැහැ. අපිට Zoom එක හරහා සම්බන්ධ වෙන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට පොඩ්ඩක් සාකච්ඡා කරන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද මෙතන මේ සඳහන් කරලා තියෙන විස්තර ටික එක පැත්තකින් විපස්සනාවකදී එන්න පුළුවන් ටිකක් ගැඹුරකට යනකොට. ඒ කියන්නේ හිත නිමිති නොගන්නා මට්ටමකට වගේ වැඩිලා එනකොට ටික කාලයකට ඔය වගේ තියෙනවා පුංචි සංක්‍රාන්ති අවධියක්. ඒකෙදි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. නමුත් ඊට මෙහා සාමාන්‍ය මේ පටන් ගත්ත ගමන්ම ඔහොම එකක් එනවා නම් පොඩ්ඩක් අපිට සාකච්ඡා කරලා බලන්න වෙනවා. හරි. Okay, so those are the questions that we have. Those are the questions we have received. If you have any more questions, we have. Yeah, please come ahead.
Bhante, this is a clarifying question. I had some doubt with something you said, and I wanted to be sure that, and I thought maybe the person giving the report might have, if they're new, they might have also had maybe misunderstood. So I just wanted to clarify for myself as well, because I'm not sure. But some of the first few reports were saying a lot of things like the left foot touching and the toes touching and different kind of reporting various very specific things about the body. And I think you were saying not to pay so much attention to the details.
No, not the detail, the names.
The names. So
the labels.
Naming foot and...
recognizing, okay, is it the middle foot? Is it the, the name?
Yes.
Basically we are adding so much of, not the information, but so much of labeling process. So each and every, say, finger has a different name. Each and every toe may have a different name. And as you are experiencing whatever the information, the sensations, so we can attribute so much of names to that. Now we are living in a world which is full of labels, full of names. So that is not really necessary, but just for the communication we are using that. But in the meditation process, so slowly we are abandoning that naming process, but maintaining the details. Details are there, that happens as a different tones or different texture or different feelings.
Yes.
As different characteristics. So they are there, but we don't need to precisely label them, okay, this is the middle finger, this is the right finger, whatever, that different names attributing. So that part I am not that concerned.
Okay. And so rather than naming those names of various parts of the body or, the toe touching or something, try to notice something like heat or...
that is where we are ultimately getting, exactly.
Is that more what you would want to hear?
So basically, we can't immediately reach that. So typically we can't immediately reach that, the pure element characteristic level. So we are going through kind of a process.
Yes.
At the early stage, we need names just to talk to during the discussion and just to write the report. We need certain amount of names, true. So as we are slowly moving forward, assume that we are getting more and more details. So in order to write that, then we need more and more words, more and more names, more and more labels. But they are not really the important thing. Ultimately, we are coming to a level where we are describing more into the element characteristic level. So they don't even need a name. Now say for example, when you are holding this mic, so you can feel its heaviness, weight, and you may feel the coldness or something like that. So the name is not the important thing. What we need is that the characteristic or the feeling that we are experiencing, directly experiencing. So that is what more important. But just to communicate, we are putting so many names, labels to that, so that only I can talk with you. So it's a matter of reporting. But assume that while you are experiencing this, now if you want to, while meditating, while you are directly experiencing this, if you are trying to remember all these names, memorizing all these names, trying to recognize all these names, then additional, that is too much. It's a burden actually. But here I am just observing it, recognizing different sensations are there, that's good, that's it. So as much as possible, so I am keeping the mind more simplified.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bhante. I feel like that clarifies.
Yeah. Thero and Sanai. So basically in the process, so we are, actually this is explained in the Chulasunyata Sutta, we are coming from different backgrounds. Say you are coming from the city and we are holding so much of information about the, politics, maybe about the prices, economic problems, and your family problems, and information related to your, occupation, and so much of information are there, so much of perceptions are there. And once you arrive the monastery, now you have to forget all that, and now you only have the perceptions, information, labels, details, only related to the monastery. So what you have discarded is so much, what you now have has to be very less. But still, if you are keeping all that information what we were handling during my, city life, then it is not necessary. So likewise, it's a kind of a simplifying process. And assume that now you only have the information, details, perceptions related to the monastery. Now assume now you are trying to pay attention to breathing. Now you know only in breath, now you know, or even before that, assume that you know only that you are sitting. I am sitting now. Okay, now the posture. So the sitting posture. Now basically, when you are aware of that, that means you have taken your attention back to the body. You don't need to worry about the monastery. So it's a kind of a relative process. Now you are discarding the information related to the monastery. You are fully aware about the information only related to the body. So it is in a way a simplifying. And later, now you are paying attention to breathing. There are various other things available within the body, but now I am concerned about the breathing. So in-breath happens, out-breath happens, in-breath happens, out-breath happens. So likewise, it's a very subtle process. As a result of that, all the other information pertaining to the body also has discarded. So likewise, we are in a way refining our attention, discarding all the other conceptual information. So that is necessary, because otherwise we are living in a more conceptual world and we are more concerned about it. We are giving more prominence to that, but that is not what we need right now. Concepts are need for us for some time, but later, slowly, we are simplifying our attention so that we are more concerned about that direct touch, the direct information, direct experience. And that you don't need even words, names, languages to recognize. It's your direct experience. Slowly, it's a matter of coming to that kind of a direct experience. Okay, we have just 10 more minutes. If you have anything else, we can discuss. Otherwise, we can wind up the process. Yeah, please.
Reverend Bhante, for me, I have very less awareness of body sensations, but I am very aware of my thoughts.
Right.
So,
but I mean, when you are aware of thoughts, are you being typically frequently carried away by thoughts, or are you able to step back and look at the thought?
I'm very much capable of stepping back and looking at the thought.
Fine. Then what happens to thoughts?
I look at them and I try to theoretically think that it is a thought and it is not me.
Okay, fine. But that theoretical convincing, is it helpful for you to maintain kind of a balance?
Very much.
Okay. So then what happens to the thinking process? Assume that you are able to convince yourself, these are merely thoughts, don't get carried away, then you are very much like logically, theoretical, fine. And as a result of that, what happens to the thinking? Are you still continuously thinking?
While I'm meditating?
Yeah.
No. I try to get back to my object.
What is the object?
Breath. But
Okay.
it is very, very difficult for me to get to the breath. I have very less awareness.
To the
I
breath.
have been,
Okay.
or to any body sensations.
Fine. Now say if you are looking at the mind, if you are able to look at thoughts and without being driven by them, so what happened to them? The thoughts.
They keep on changing and I try to come back to my object.
I mean, if not necessary to come back to object, can you continuously look at thoughts?
I don't do that because I'm trying to get back to my object.
If you can try, because now if you are returning again and again back to the meditation object, you are recognizing, okay, anapanasati is the must.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, but if you are able to look at thoughts mindfully without being distracted, and as a result of your observation, if they are coming and going, and if you are properly, objectively looking at them, so that means you have that capacity. It depends. Typically, I am not asking a yogi to do it immediately. Typically, the process is a kind of a gradual process. So it is more convenient to look at the body first, establishing mindfulness there, look at certain bodily process, using it to sharpen mindfulness. So kind of naturally, then you are capable of looking at the mind. But that is the typical procedure. Now, how about walking?
Walking today is the first day. That is why I went into lengthy detail. After doing it for so many years, today is the first day actually I saw that much even. Otherwise I have never seen anything.
But your walking meditation information is quite good.
Yeah, that's the first time I saw that.
Right. So basically, while walking, do like that. Because that approach, you have understood the method.
But then I get distracted by the thoughts of happiness and ego and all those things. I'm aware and I'm labeling them also.
Fine. For the time being, that's good.
Okay.
Because that means you have the capacity to look at them properly, objectively. So while I am meditating, let's use the term I for the time being.
Yes.
So while this process happens, so what are the perceptions happen? So I'm doing good. So I'm the best.
Yes.
Is it I'm going to lose it? So like that, thoughts are also coming like that. Various
I
doubts
can look
are
at
happening.
it standing back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. That's pretty good.
Okay.
So it's not only the physical process happens, but there are various other thoughts also available. And you are able to look at that also. You can include that also into your meditation.
Okay.
No problem.
So that
That's
is
good.
not a distraction.
No. Distraction, typically we consider as a distraction when you completely lost your mindfulness. So it is not the distraction in that sense. So that's another thought came, which is also now you have included to the process, and you look at that properly.
Yes.
Objectively, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. That part you can continue as it is, walking meditation, giving more prominence to the bodily sensations. And the sitting part also, you can try that for some time. Say, after coming back from walking, you are bringing that mindfulness, what you have developed, to the sitting. And probably you can continue the same thing while sitting as well. But if you feel I am more convenient to do the watching of the mind, you can try that. No harm.
Okay.
It depends on the person actually.
Yeah.
So you can try that, by the way.
තෙරුවන් සරණයි ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ. යෝනිසෝ මනසිකාරය කොච්චරක් දුරකට දැන්
If you can read English, are you? Can?
I'm sorry. Somehow I switched to English. So sorry about that. I apologize. I heard it automatically comes. Like you mentioned, when you do the mindfulness practice, not anatta or whatever, this is not a person thing, automatically comes. But before that, we want to do the yoniso manasakara, right? I mean, this is part of that's what I want to find out. So for how far do we, mindfulness and sati sampajanya, sati sampajanya part is, I think, is that right? Yoniso manasakara. So I was thinking, you were saying don't do purposely, so that's why I wanted to clarify, because it's part of Yoniso Manasakara. My understanding is like doing it kind of purposely at the beginning, like how, for example, how the world get created through the six senses and stuff.
Can you repeat last part?
Oh, how this, through the eye, that the world get created through the six senses. Yoniso manasakara, doing yoniso manasakara.
No, that is not basically thinking. We are not here like we are thinking according to the suttas and all that. It is not the thinking we are talking here. Very much like what I was mentioning is that we are maintaining kind of a little curiosity in the mind. So that we are not simply superficially touching the thing. Rather, we have a little curiosity, what's going on. I still don't know what's going on. So that kind of an attitude. So
the thing about that is like we, as normal people, we don't know. We have to. When we look at like, how did it happen? Our lay mind is like, okay, like go into regular traditional stuff. So that's why I was thinking like, for example, Dhammanupassana. You're referring to Dhammanupassana for some people. Like, looking at the 5, like hindrances, and then how they are working. So my main question is, so instead of sitting back and look at, curious, we might go wrong. Instead of using the Buddha's teaching and applying and seeing at the beginning, to see until we get somewhere like, to understand that there's, like you said, process rather than I seeing it or so that basically my question is like, we need to do a lot of yoniso manasakara while practicing mindfulness, like as a sati sampajanya?
Yeah, so that's fun. So basically, at the beginning, as much as possible, we are trying to be mindful. So that's not yet attached to the too much of, say, yoniso manasikara, we can say. Just merely mindful, bare attention. So once bare attention is fairly established, now you are not simply bare attentive, but you are fairly capable of looking at something consistently for a long time. Now we are adding another attribute, that is looking at the details. Looking at the details is where you are more curious about it. You are more examining the thing. So that examination part helps you to see deeper rather than simply superficially touching that. So that in a way promotes certain skill in our mind. It is not that we are simply copying from the Buddha. Rather we are now trying to look at things as they truly are by their own nature. It's not that Buddha makes things impermanent, rather the phenomena, they have the characteristics of impermanence. They are doing, it happens there. So I am little curious about it. So that curiosity, I am looking deeper. I am having a penetrative look. So that promotes the Yoniso Manasikara. Then I am being conditioned by I am simply borrowing from the Buddha's teaching. I can gather a certain amount of knowledge that is necessary, that also good. But other than that, while meditating, we are not allowing that Suttame Jnana to come to the front. We are not trying to prove the Suttame Jnana by doing this. That's a wrong approach in a way. Now assume that I have learned so much of information, there's Dhamma books, there are very many beautiful theories are there. Am I going to prove that all theories while doing meditation? No. Basically, theories are there, fine. But now I have to have a kind of a naive look. I have a fresh look. So is it true? Something like that. So it's kind of allowing it to happen, but I am more curious about it. I am more concerned about it. I am not simply sleeping. I am not simply drowsing in a drowsy mood. Rather, I am full alert about it. Then only while it is changing, I am having a very silent observation. I am not even changing that process. I am not interrupting the process, interfering. Rather, allowing it to happen, and I am simply carefully looking at it. Deeply looking at it. And that deep look may have an attribute of looking deeply, looking more closely, and penetratively looking, and even looking at the first stage. Say, assume first stage in the sense now, say for example, if feelings happen, if there's a feeling. So now I am carefully looking at it, carefully looking. So how the feeling arises, not at when it is coming to the picture and then only I saw it, but how it is initiating. So even when I am looking at the initiating process, probably I can look at what happened before that even. Just before the beginning of the feeling. So what is the condition which causes the feeling? Then I am going even more deeper, that promotes the Yoniso Manasikara, so that probably I can understand, yes, the contact conditions, the feeling, that is a theory in a way. That is a beautiful theory that Buddha informs us, right? We can call it Dappaccheta and all these things are there. But as a fresh look, now I am promoting rather than simply borrowing from the Buddha. But I am naturally, gradually, carefully, I am looking at it. And as a result of that, I myself have the direct understanding about, yes, it is the contact. Contact is the one conditions the feeling. Because I look at it deeply, look at it closely, and that is Yoniso Manasikara. Yeah.
So when you mention mindful meditation, they are sitting meditation, right?
Right, sitting meditation. You can do both.
So maybe sitting and walking, maybe, but during the day also. So yes, yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm still having Yoniso Manasikara, then Dhamma Patipada. So you're talking about Dhamma Patipada. What's the difference?
Yeah, Patipada is that we are living according to the Buddha's teaching, and we are behaving and restraining ourselves. All these things comes under that Dhamma Patipada. So it's not that I'm completely ignoring the precepts and moral standards and all these things. I'm more concerned about it, and I'm more concerned about the developing myself according to the Dhamma. So everything comes under that. Sila, Samadhi, Panya. But it doesn't mean that I am looking down the book knowledge, but it is necessary. But during the meditation process, I have to keep it little aside and simply allow the kind of my own type of understanding to grow. Let's try. Okay, I think we have spent sharp almost 1 hour. Okay, fine. Then thank you very much for your participation. We are going to have the Dhamma sermon at 4 p.m. But during the rest of the time, please follow the timetable. Thank you.